My dear friend, watching the DNC must be absolutely trying to those individuals who believe in this thing called truth. Now, truth is it's a very weird concept. What may be true for you may not be true for me, or may be partially true, or it might be an exaggeration. But the real word, the operative word here, is lie. What is a lie? Legally speaking, my friends, there have been court cases that have tried to define a lie as the misrepresentation of fact with the intent to deceive. And when Barack Obama and Michelle Obama stand before the world commending Joe Biden, commending for his empathy, his decency, and his good-natured search for the truth, you've got to be saying to yourself, that is a lie. But maybe not. Maybe it's just an exaggeration. Remember one thing, dear friend, that the particular horrible time that they speak of now, the horrible time that these folks speak of, the horrible time that these individuals are speaking of now, this horrible time, this terrible time, the time rather was created 4 years ago. And the person who's wanting to run for president was in charge during the time when all of these particular facts and figures regarding starvation and the like occur. The Democrats fancy themselves and consider themselves to be protectors of this claim called democracy. As you well know, we are a republic and not a democracy. A democracy is tyranny by the majority. Democracy is two wolves fighting over a... No. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. Two wolves and a sheep. Excuse me for that. I lost my mind in my reverie. Two wolves and a sheep arguing what's for lunch. It's tyranny by the majority. There were times in this country when the majority would have opted for and insisted upon slavery and the like. And we said, no. The Constitution rules. Well, if you look at what's going on right now, it's fascinating. The DNC seems to be absolutely not even mildly interested, constrained, limited, or concerned with what we call the truth. On more than one occasion, the Democrats claimed that Donald Trump had referred to these tiki torch, Nazi, fascist, sound like Antifa to me, these Charlottesville folks as very fine people. Never happened. They also blatantly, falsely referred to the President, Donald Trump, as instructing Americans, they still say this, to inject bleach during the COVID pandemic. Again, a claim that I will never, ever even begin to understand. Chuck Schumer, one of the most boring and insipid, vapid examples of humanity run amok, who is very interesting regarding his connection to and a means of addressing what is happening in Israel, refers to Trump, whose son-in-law and daughter and grandchildren are Jewish. Anyway, he refers to them as promoting and peddling and encouraging anti-Semitism. And during this course, speaker after speaker provided these vapid and vague warnings that President Trump would somehow ban, this is my favorite, ban IVF, in vitro fertilization. Or as my dear friend Curtis Lewa called it, a veto in fertilization, even though President Trump has explicitly and deliberately and absolutely rejected any and all claims to limit fertility treatments. In fact, Tampon Timmy claims to have been, and this is interesting, claims to have been the beneficiary, he and his wife, of IVF, when his wife says, no, we didn't have IVF, we had IUI, intrauterine insemination. And even on the CNN, they said, well, it doesn't really matter. So the point is, what are we going to do with this? It comes down to this, and this is a truth that you may or may not want to deal with, but I'm going to tell you nonetheless. The only thing I care about the only thing I care about is who is going to deal with and trust and focus on and protect absentee ballots. Not votes, but ballots. This is what nobody talks about. Nobody talks about. None. In fact, when you talk about it, they think like, wait a minute, are you talking about Dominion? I'm not talking about machines. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm not talking about Dominion or Smartmatic or Diebold. I'm talking about paper. Paper that comes in and goes, oh, look, here's an absentee vote from 123 Main Street in Peaksville, Pennsylvania. Okay. One vote for Kamala Harris. And here's another absentee from the same address. A different name, but a different same address. Interestingly enough, one more vote for Kamala Harris. And here's a third absentee vote that came from the same address. Likewise for Kamala Harris, but with a different name. Now, what I told you right now, what I just explained, is what keeps me up at night. Because you could talk all day long about conventions. You could talk all day long about speeches and who said what and who lied. But unless and until you secure the vote, and I'm not talking about Charlie Kirk and this new cadre of not neoconservatives, but this new version of this, how he's going to go and protect. No, you don't see this at the ballot booth. You don't see this at the precinct. You see this if you do a thorough investigation of our voting systems, which nobody apparently wants to do. And if I didn't know better, it's as though everybody wants to continue the system as is, just as is. So remember, do not lose your mind. Do not become angry, but understand something. You are living right now in a system that is so corrupt, so criminally corrupt. It is gangster level corrupt, a level of corruption that we have never seen. Dear friend, please, I ask you only one thing. Subscribe to Lionel Legal right here. This is our sister channel, so to speak, or brother, or they channel, to be correct, of Lionel Nation. But this is Lionel Legal. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. And please hit that little bell to be notified of live streams and new videos. And like it. And with all due respect, I also further ask you to comment as you see fit.